What's up, everybody? We are here with Nick Dodge of HKD Geckos, and he is a three-time Gold Standard Gecko Club champion. His gecko Smokeshow has won the competition three different times. Two times at the 2024 Flora Fauna Conference, and then once at this past Daytona Gold Standard Gecko Club show. And Nick, congratulations, first of all. I know I've been a fan of Smoke Show for a long time, but how does it feel to just get that, recognition from the judges, and just the crowd loves Smoke Show always. But how does it feel to win another title and just get that extra amount of recognition?
Man, it was cool. Honestly, it was I didn't put him in the last Flora Fauna because he was breeding and everything else. And when I decided to add him today or to that show in Daytona, I'm like, you know what? I'll cross my fingers that things worked out and wasn't like a one-time deal. But I mean,
Yeah.
he has a look, man. It's hard to duplicate. Been trying, and so like that's the thing, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean you've been I see those smoke show babies that you've been
Oh my
producing, man,
gosh.
and I already messaged you. I was like, yo, whenever you have a really nice one, you gotta let me know. I mean, they've all been so nice, but a lot of the ones that I wanted have already been sold. And I was like, it just that the saturation of the orange with that
Yeah,
paper white, it
yeah.
doesn't matter. Like that will never get old.
No.
That color is just always gonna pop.
Yeah, it's hard because it's like I'm looking at what I have, looking right now, what I have that I'm holding back, and trying to like formulate a plan of like, okay, well, I don't want to have a lot of stuff, but like I want to keep like so many things. So it's like me fighting myself, like, okay, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna add to it? And like, how many should I keep back, and then how many should I put out to release? It's hard right now because he's
Well,
created so many new ones or nice ones last season.
Well, whenever you're having that inner struggle,
I
I can help you. I can help you. I'll
okay.
be like, you know what? This one you might not need to keep. You can just send it over here.
Yeah.
So,
There's
um,
like a stack of 10 right now that I'm looking at. I'm like, yeah, like the best of the best.
yeah, yeah, man. And I tell you, Smoke Show, the first year there was great competition. This year at Daytona, there was also really good competition. I know I told you, but Smoke Show competed against Bat Crackers from Morph Menagerie.
Yeah.
And dude, that is one badass gecko as well. And when I had them both put side by side, I was like, wow, like who is gonna win this? Because it definitely feels good to win, a championship, but it feels that much better, I would assume, to win against a badass gecko like Bad Crackers, you know?
Yeah, when I was looking at what you had there on the table, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Ugh. That was the one that I looked right at. I'm like, I love that gecko. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know what
Yeah.
I'm looking for, that kind of thing. And that one stood out definitely to me. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a stiff competition. And then not being at this show to actually see it was kind of hard. You're like sitting back and like waiting to like, what are the results?
Yeah, yeah. No, it was a close call. You edged Bad Crackers out by a couple points, and I think that it's one of those geckos that on a different day with a different judge, it might like edge Smoke Show out, but they're both like right there neck and neck, and it's just I know that if Gabby decides to keep entering him in, eventually he's gonna win something. That animal's insane to the point that I was even like, all right, I'm gonna get myself a Backcrackers kid,
I
but
want to put with Smoke Show, right?
yeah, I mean that'd be amazing. And I mean I have smoke show lineage stuff, and then I have this, so I'm gonna be doing that in the future for sure. So I'm excited about that.
Can
But
you enter your own geckos in the gold standard?
no, no, I don't. I don't. So what happened was I don't want to enter any of my own geckos just because I know my intentions, I know myself, but I could see how from the outside somebody might see that and say, but this is his show, like he's gonna just rig it so he wins, you
Yeah.
know, if I were to win. So from the beginning, I've always just been like, you know what, that's just not what I'm gonna do. But next year, what I will do is I will start to allow people to enter geckos they did not produce, but So let's say I buy a gecko from, well, not me, but let's say somebody buys a gecko from you and they enter that gecko and that gecko wins. We'll announce the winner as, so and so gecko produced by HKD Geckos, owned by so and so.
I like that.
That
Yeah.
way, that
Yeah.
way, that way it gives us a little bit more room for new contestants to participate, and it also is going to give credibility, and it's going to give, it's going to bring new people to that breeder that produced that gecko.
No,
So
yeah, I'd be down for that. I sold a lot of good ones, so if somebody entered them, I would not be mad at all.
yeah, and it's kind of like a win-win, because let's
Yeah.
say you enter a tricolor and they enter a tricolor produced by you. If they win,
Yeah, I'm
you're
winning.
also at the
Yeah.
end getting the credit for
I'd be like,
producing
wait,
that
hold on,
gecko.
you're putting something in that's mine. Like, I don't want to like compete against it, but like, this is the way that it works, right? I mean, the
Yeah,
cool thing
yeah.
is when you have your show and you walk up and you see all those nice geckos, like, wow, like it's the best of the best on one table.
Yeah, no, you know what? Daniela at this last show, she was she was like the face of Gold Standard Gecko. She's a much better looking face than I am, so I had her there. And a lot of people were passing by, like, people that may not know what Gold Standard Gecko Club is, and they were like, "Oh my God, I like all your award-winning geckos." And they thought all the awards that we had in display were hers, that she won for her geckos. So then that sparked, a thought in me, and I was like, you know what? How cool would it be to see, you or Tara or Nicoletta, some of the breeders that have gotten multiple awards, to just have at their next reptile show, just have a little stand of all their awards displayed, and that way, to the people that know, of course, is gonna give you credibility, but also those that might not might are just starting to get into crested geckos, and then they see, oh, these awards, like it brings eyes to your table, basically.
I've thought of it and I've like contemplated figuring out a way to like bring Smokeshow and then have some kind of like display or something. Still working on it. It's hard because a lot of my shows are local, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely something I considered for a while, and then adding the last trophy, makes it something I've been considering. So what that
Yeah,
looks like,
yeah.
I don't know when that will happen. I'm not sure either, kind of thing. But
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if, like, you could set up maybe like a little mini vivarium, and then inside the vivarium have like the awards somehow
yeah,
displayed with some lights. That'd be cool.
that's a good idea. No, actually, yeah, I'll let you know how that goes. The next show, it's like in a month.
There you go. So Nick, I mean, I've talked to you for a while, but I wanted to kind of like take you way back into the first time you actually saw a crested gecko, that first experience with a crested gecko you had. Kind of walk us through that, and when was that moment that just clicked in your mind that I was like, okay, I'm gonna start breeding these things?
Man, that's a multi-part question.
Yeah.
I've been into reptiles for a very long time. My uncle, or godfather, he was good at like buying you presents that your parents had to take care of. And so like he's like, "Oh, let's go for your birthday. We're gonna go to a pet store." And somehow I came home with a lizard. I don't even know what it was. It was like some kind of race runner or something when I was 4. But I've always loved reptiles, so like that must have been why I did that. Um, and then just constantly try to have, I had iguanas and chameleons and all kinds of stuff, and I tried breeding chameleons, but those are difficult, and what happens to the females after they lay eggs is a little difficult. And then being up here in the northeast, man, the weather is not great. Indoors is not good for trying to raise them. And so crested geckos or something that I knew was easy, but I used to work at PetSmart and I remember seeing like a magazine with them on. I'm like, what is that? Those are cool. Read up on them, like they're that easy. I'm like, I want some of those. I had a
Yeah.
job that I had to go away for a lot, and to have somebody around to take care of stuff, it wasn't an option. So I waited a little bit, and then I had hobbies that kept me out of the house a lot. Had my son, those hobbies kind of went away, and I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool to like do something with the kids, get them involved, get them some responsibility, make kind of like a little side business with it, so that they can like speak to people and learn about business and We got a crested gecko. My wife didn't know that was a plan. Then we got another one, and then we got a couple more, and then we kept going. So crested, I had crested geckos in 2008.
Yeah.
Had kids, and I got back into it. Man, I don't know, 2014.
Wow.
So I've been
Yeah,
doing it 14.
so you're no spring chicken.
No, I think I met you and I got the shirt and
Yeah.
show in Orlando in 2018. I'm like, we're gonna go to Florida for the kids. Da 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 da. Just happened to be the same time that there was a Orlando show. Uh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize it. Yeah, I planned around it. Um, yeah, that's how it worked, man. It was a good time. I met you there, and Manny, it was a good time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's funny, like I was just telling you, like that shirt I've had for so long, and I'm like, I did it on purpose. Obviously, I wanted to have like a look that people would remember, and it's like the shirt with the gecko, the black shirt with the gecko on it. But so many people have that shirt now, and I was looking back at it. I'm like, oh my God, I've been selling these shirts for like over 10 years, like easily. And it's just cool to see, like, just, how many people have supported us over the years, and then how you could date that back. And it's really awesome.
No, I looked at the shirt and like that's what I want to make. Like that,
Yeah.
when you get into crested geckos, the geckos themselves are super cool, but just like the ability to have different colors and like the fringe or like the orange with the white. And I remember like looking at that shirt and like, man, like the gargoyles are cool, but I like the cresteds. Like I kind of drew,
Yeah.
kind of that was my thing. And I'm like, I want to create that on the shirt. And that was what, 7 years ago. So that's kind of the
That's
blueprint, man.
that's awesome, man. And so you did, I mean, look, fast forward, and you did create a championship winning gecko, which is Smokeshow. Now, I I know the lineage behind Smokeshow,
Yeah.
but I want you to explain, it's Linny and Vanya. Explain to me the lineage of those two geckos, where they come from,
Okay.
and yeah, where they come from.
So Lemmy came from JB Cresteds,
Yeah.
and so back in the day, I think it's Jen. She had a
Yep.
website that you can look at the babies and then attach to them with the parents. And I remember just like looking through that for days, trying to figure out. I bought 3 of them from her at that time. Lemmy is the best one, the most expensive one, the one that I kept, for years. And he just had something different about him. Huge crests, had that head fringe, the tricolor look. Not so much anymore, but back then he did. And
Yeah.
I had to go for him. And I think his lineage is Whataburger as the dad, and then Drop Dead as the mom. And so
Okay.
probably got him. Man, I don't 2019, maybe 220, I don't know, something around that time. I mean, all the
Yeah.
years blend together. And then Vanya came from Emily Burke. I used to go to her table at the Rexpo all the time and just stare and drool at all her stuff. And I got one of her probably smallest, probably least expensive geckos that in my head I had like an idea of like what I was trying to create, and I had like the vision, and this gecko had what I was looking for. And so I had to wait, a year and a half for it to be old enough to breed, but I did, and put those two together, and they were created Smoke Show. Smoke Show is one of its kind, though. They've created a lot of great stuff, but nothing near the same. And I bred them for, I think, 3, 4 seasons. I'm not good with breeding,
Yeah.
especially it's late at night for me.
So so you knew right off the bat that Smoke Show was just special.
He hatched in the egg, and if anybody follows me on Instagram, if you go over to my videos, there's one video where he was like his head was popped out of the egg in the incubator. I brought him out and I just like messed with the egg, and he came out, and you could see that it wasn't so much the color, it was the solid lats that he had that like I knew was a game changer. Um,
Yeah.
and I remember like, wow, this is the nicest gecko I've ever hatched out. And a lot of them, you don't know what you got. You wait, it takes till like they're 15 grams to see what they look like, but that one I knew for sure. I'm like, this thing. There's something about this thing that like I've never seen before, and still kind of haven't to this day. To be honest, he's different.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is, and it's like such a fitting name, Smoke Show.
Yeah.
So, is there? So, you kind of mentioned what you really like about Smoke Show, the white walls and stuff. But what are the traits that Smoke Show has that you're particular on passing down to his offspring, and anything that you think you can improve
Yeah.
on, further lineage?
With Smoke Show, it's just like the coloration of the white, almost kind of has the realm of like lily white without being a lily white, right? What everybody's looking
Yep.
for, right? The dorsal is very solid and that bright paper white. But he also has, and like one of the things that I'm known for, and one of the things I want to see in my geckos is the fringe, right? The head fringe, and then the kind of the pattern of that. But that solid lats that he has is something that's been hard to duplicate and something that I want to. And then, one of the things I'm working on, he has that orange too. But I'm kind of, for future use and everything else, is trying to figure out how to make more tones of orange and then vibrant orange and an orange that lasts for a while. And his is
Yeah.
still there. He's only what, 2.5. It's still there, but like who knows in a couple of years. And so that's one of the things I'm continuing to work on.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's something that is a good point. Like, you see so many geckos that are labeled as Halloween, but Halloweens in particular, that bright orange coloration seems to like fade very quickly. So, I've been working on trying to keep that coloration, throughout the gecko's lifetime. But that is something that I think Smoke Show has, where typically it fades, as soon as the gecko's really like breeding age.
Yeah.
And I've seen Smoke Show a couple years in a row now, and he still seems to have that bright orange color and that paper white. So it is something that I think more people should focus on, is that not just focus on, like a really nice color that's like a given, but color that lasts,
Yeah.
the test of time. And I'm big on that. And I really became big on that once I started to work with my Deadpool line, when I started to see all my Gargle geckos kind of like fade away and become kind of like crappy looking, when I knew they were badass animals. And then Deadpool just looked the same as he's always looked. So then I'm like, wait, so there's definitely a possibility here to just keep that
Mm.
bright, vibrant color throughout the lifetime of the gecko. And I think more breeders should focus on that. So kudos to you.
Thanks. Yeah, there's a
Um,
lot of like even right now trying to search for new stuff to add, and then you go through the parents and you're like, man, this gecko's orange, and you can always tell kind of by like the tint of the tail, but then you go to the parents and like, there's no orange there. Like, where did that come from? You know,
yeah,
you like go to the parents. Some of them, go to the parents, like, So I feel like if you stack that on top of each other, it just makes more of a strong, consistent line that might be around for a little bit longer, and then just keep adding to it. There's a lot of people that are working on some orange stuff, so just keep bringing it in and kind of mixing it with. I think one of my hardest things is trying to like make sure you're adding orange, but also not taking away from the white, and that's kind of the debacle
that's
that.
the hard part. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the hard part.
yeah,
Yeah, because there's so many tricolors that are, cream, and especially it might start off kind of white, but pretty soon it goes cream.
flips,
But
yeah,
yeah, I get that. I have a tricolor in particular that is like that paper white, and the females that I'm thinking for him do have that like more of a cream look, but you got to breed them and figure it out, I guess.
yeah. That's one.
So, something that leopard gecko breeders and a lot of other reptile breeders are big on is line breeding to preserve that particular look. Like, let's say in this case, that vibrant orange and white color that we've been talking about that lasts. So what are your thoughts on line breeding and possibly doing it with like smoke show line down, in a couple years?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think with when it comes to that kind of stuff, is like you need to be, responsible when you do it. Unfortunately, like with crested geckos, there wasn't so many that were field collected, right?
Right.
And there's not a lot that we're working with to begin with, right? So they're all probably somewhat somewhere related, within the generations. And so, if you did that, you would just have to be responsible in doing so. Um, you know, how you did it, all that kind of stuff. And then if you're selling any of those offspring, you need to let people know when it comes to that as well. But I'm not completely against it. I think sometimes you got to get to where you're looking to go by doing things like that, but it needs to be done responsible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100% I agree with you. What would you think, or if you don't have an opinion on it, you don't have to comment, but what would you think would be, how would you do it responsibly, right? Because, there's a lot of newer breeders that might be watching this and they're saying, okay, that's a tool that I could use for my breeding program, but when is it the right time to do it? When is it the wrong time to do it? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's a certain thing. Like, what look are you looking for? And is there
Hmm.
a way that you can? I mean, you have to exhaust all accounts of looking away somewhere else if somebody else has something that's unrelated, right?
Yep.
And if that's the case and you've exhausted everything, and then you're like, well, I'm trying to build upon something that I already have in house, then you need to make sure that they're not like directly related in some way, shape, or form when it comes to stuff. So, like, making sure you have a couple generations back. And so now, how big is your collection, right? So you got to make sure that you have a big enough collection to do this if you're going to go that route. Make sure that they're, I know some people will breed like a daughter back to like the parent or something like that. I think it should be maybe a couple generations separated when you're doing something like that. So for me, I try to avoid it at all costs. Go on MorphMarket for days and days and days and days. Go on Instagram for days to try to find exactly what I'm looking for. And I think I overanalyze everything. Comes to that kind of stuff to try to figure out what I want to plan for. But I mean, long and short of it, yeah, that kind of stuff. It shouldn't be something that's like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to breed right back to the parent, you know.
Right. It shouldn't you be your first go-to.
No, it shouldn't. You should, like I say, there's plenty. I mean, I was on Morph Market yesterday. Is 8,100 or something geckos on there. You could scrub through some stuff, but it might not be everybody's top stuff that's out there. So you got to start asking around and stuff like that. But it's always good to have a plan and then a plan for that plan and then keep going. But my whole thing is trying to stay laser focused on like what our next steps are, and then having another plan after that. Keep building. Um, Unfortunately, what comes to doing this stuff is like whatever you pair, and kind of where I'm at, we pair late. I'm up here and closer to Canada than I am like
Yeah.
you guys are, and so the
Yeah.
weather isn't great. So my pairs end up late, and the babies take forever to grow, and so I start repairing before I really know what I produced last season, and that kind of kicks me.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that because the weather plays such a big role. I know like us here, I'm pairing really I'm pairing at the end of our winter. So I'm pairing like in December. Sometimes I'll even start pairing in November. And so by the time March comes, I'm already getting eggs. Because the
Yeah.
females might still be like cooling a little bit, and then by the time March comes, I've already been getting eggs, sometimes even earlier, like in February. But yeah, no, I've heard from so many breeders up north that, you just gotta plan it a little bit
Yeah.
differently. You might have to feed a couple more bugs or something.
Well, it's even. I mean, they're not really. The hard part is you could do whatever you want. They know what the temperature is outside. They can kind of feel everything. You could try to pump stuff in, but like, they have that natural feel, especially, when you go downstairs after like a thunderstorm, there's just like,
Yeah,
more geckos pop out. There's a
yeah,
difference. There's something you can't, like create. We try as much as we do, or we
right.
try to, but yeah, I usually pair in February, but I don't get eggs until like May. So like I'm
Yeah,
pushed back probably 3-4 months from you, and so that
yeah.
so when we start trying to pair again, maybe I'll do it later. But like last year, I paired some things. I didn't repair things that I should have, and I'm looking at their babies. I'm like, why didn't I do that again? But the hard part is once you start keeping a lot of the stuff, everything starts being related. So you either have to have a bigger thing, let go more, or really try to be focused on what you're trying to do.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the hard part
Yeah.
because especially with these geckos, it's like you almost want to do everything. You almost want to breed so many different things, and it's like you got to keep yourself disciplined,
Yeah.
especially if you're like lower on space. Now, so we've been talking about Smoke Show. We know how like incredible that lineage is and everything. You actually even entered Vanya, sorry, not Vanya, on Mirage,
Yeah.
also in this past show, and she was awesome, but she didn't win this time, but and she's a Smoke Show sibling, correct?
Yep.
So we've seen how many just stunners that lineage makes. Do you have any other geckos coming up that are maybe a different lineage or maybe an outcross that you're excited about, some of your breeders?
Yeah, I think I mean the smoke show stuff that I have that was produced in 24 is nice. I got a lineup coming up. But I think probably the most famous one besides Smoke Show would be my buffalo sauce. And he came from Nova and Genesis. So Genesis is a full sibling of Smoke Show. Came from Lamia Banya. And then Nova came from Hidden Valley Geckos. And it was
Okay.
one of her, and it was one of those things. Parents weren't orange, baby was orange. I saw that she had it available. She posted online. I'm like, I want it. I added it. Probably this might be the third season with them, and he's made some killers.
And
And
they're still paired up?
yeah, so this year he was paired. Yeah, so I have a trio that I got going on. It's Genesis and Nemesis. They're full siblings. And then Nova's in there with them all year long.
Okay, gotcha. So Genesis, you said Genesis is a sibling to Smoke Show?
Yep.
Okay, so Genesis and Nemesis are siblings to Smoke Show,
Yep.
and you're breeding buffalo sauce to them.
Oh no, Nova is bred to them, and he produced buffalo sauce.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha.
and then
Nova.
also another one that I have is hot sauce, and that came from Nova and Nemesis.
Okay, okay. And are they're more Harlequin pattern, right? They're more like extreme Harlequin pattern with more saturated orange instead of like the pinstripe look.
Yeah, and honestly, I kind of like that look more. It's
Really?
kind of the direction I would like to go. Um, but it's hard, the hard part is like you get a lot of the white I find when you have more of like that pinstriping, right? And then like smoke show, I don't want to go away from that. So like then you start fighting with what look you want to do, and how big your room is that you have all this stuff, and you're like, you know what I mean? I've released the pinstripe this year. I could kick myself for, because I was trying to stick to like the plan that I had set forward. Um, it's one of those things. But yeah, no, buffalo sauce. He's got, and one of my favorite things about him is that saturation orange. He has the white, but he also has that awesome head fringing that kind of like almost does what a frappuccino does, where
Yeah.
it's like speckling into the rest of the head.
Crust. Yeah. Yeah, that stuff that will never get old.
No.
So I seen a couple, by the way, is that one that you said that pinstripe tricolor from Smoke Show that you've been kicking yourself for? Is that the one that went to Rooted?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably the best pinstripe I've ever produced. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing is badass. I just remember her posting it
Yeah.
and seeing like I'm like, God,
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
I
a little
repaired
low
them
key
this year,
jealous.
so if I do it again, I'll reach out.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, and so aside from buffalo sauce, well, so I saw another offspring that I don't know who produced this gecko that you had. It's a holdback of yours that has it's less of that pinstripe, more of that harlequin look, but it's so saturated that it doesn't even look like a dark base animal. It looks like a orange base with white on it. Where's that gecko from? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
There's a couple of them.
So I'm thinking of a picture of you have two on your hand
Okay.
that one is more, I think one is more pinstripe and one is more of like that super
Yeah,
saturated
let me
orange that
see.
has barely.
I'll go grab it and tell me if
Okay,
that's it or not.
okay, good deal.
And she's
Hope it.
fired up, so that's good.
All right, perfect. Even better.
This one?
Yes, that one. That
So, yeah, so she is from Smokeshow and Sundance.
Wow, yeah. You see, like even I'm looking at you on a smaller screen, so from my point of view, I'm like, that doesn't even look like a dark base gecko. It just looks like an orange gecko
It's
with
all
some white.
orange. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a
that's
I have a guy, well, a boy gecko coming in from Canada from the Gecko Hub tomorrow that
okay.
almost identical to this.
That you're planning on putting with that one.
Yeah.
So that's a female.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
Weird, right? Like, what is
that's
this?
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just and I recently got that gecko from you, which was Nova and Genesis, was it?
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
and that one has this crazy saturated orange. And I could see how, like, in another generation, if I pair it accordingly, I will have something like that where
Yeah.
it's more gonna be probably pinstripe, but it's where that orange, saturated orange just covers the whole body and it basically seems like it's an orange gecko with white on it,
That's
not a
where I like.
tricolor.
I keep fighting myself because I like the tricolors, but like, what is this? And I have like a couple
Yeah.
more that came out looking like this, and like that's the direction I might want to like continue on.
Yeah, well, have you seen those geckos out in Hong Kong, the SPT ones?
Yeah, that's another direction I'm trying to go to.
Yeah. I think that's like the ones that you have right now is more saturated orange, but I think they're basically doing the same thing where they get that yellow markings to
Yeah,
cover the whole body where it looks like a baseless gecko, and
yeah,
then it has a lot of cream and white as well, which is an awesome look also.
yeah,
But it'd be interesting to see if you could consistently produce those orange ones like that because I've
yeah.
seen them here and there, but that one in particular is just badass.
No, they're the smoke show in Sundance. I have this one is staying here. I have another, I think male that has more cream on it, more white. Kind of like looks almost probably the closest to smoke show out of a lot of them that I have. And then I have another one that I might actually release. That looks like this, but like the white is more blends in and has more dark to it. So not as nice as this, kind of smaller, but has that look.
Yeah, yeah, that's really neat. And
Yeah.
buffalo sauce kind of has a similar look, right? Where you could see
He,
it.
yeah, he's got more of like a maybe not as orange as this one, and like maybe
Yeah,
the camera doesn't do it justice, but
yeah,
he's got more of like that. I don't know, like buffalo sauce, man. Looks like a chicken.
yeah,
Right? Not as orange, like a little bit of yellow orange mixed in. I wish he was fired up. He's not going to be there. I know that for sure.
yeah. Yeah. Man, that's exciting, dude. I
Yeah.
I just love what you're doing out there with the tricolors and just that saturated orange look with the head fringe. It's like it's so you have certain breeders that you look at a gecko and you're like, I know who produced that. You ever have that happen where you look at a picture and you're like, that probably was produced by this person?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. I mean, I got one from Nick himself from like Crusty Lords.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know, he's got
I got
those
one of those too.
Halloweens, like that was one of those things. Bring in the orange and then hopefully I can throw some like fringe on
That's exactly. I got one of those too, actually.
it.
But yeah, no, it's funny because I'll always be scrolling through Instagram kind of like mindlessly, and
Yeah.
then I'll see a gecko, and I'll like, okay, before I even see the name or anything, I'm like, that's probably Nick or
Yeah.
whatever, and it ends up being you.
Yeah, I do the
Um,
same thing. Yeah. Yeah,
that's
actually
funny.
this so the at Florifana, I I had Bombshell. I
Yeah.
entered
All
Bombshell.
right. Yeah,
Bombshell
bombshell.
was a Limmy and Vanya. She was bright orange, Harlequin or whatnot with white, but she had that white fringing all the way up her head and everything else, like different than a lot of the stuff that I have. And so she's amazing. Well, I was scrolling on Instagram the one day and I thought somebody stole a picture of mine and put it up there, but the white was a little whiter and the fringing was a little bit more like solid instead of as speckled as hers was. And
Yeah.
I reached out to that breeder. I'm like, is this thing available? And then she's like, I'm in Canada, and unfortunately, like I just sold it. I'm like, oh, no way, because like throwing that in with my other stuff, like I would be
Yeah.
consistent, right? You know. Needless to say, she had one. There was a male that looks a lot like this, me with not as much orange going all the way up the side, but I'm like, and it was the same lineage. I'm like, okay, that's what I want to add. And then she threw in a baby for me, so I'm gonna be doing that. So hopefully, those. I
So
think,
that's the one that you're getting tomorrow?
yeah, I go pick them up tomorrow. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
yeah,
by the time this comes out, you'll probably already have it, and I've probably already seen it. So I'll put some pictures for people to
heck
see.
yeah. I'll send them to you tomorrow.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. So, so Nick, I did want to ask you because I'm always curious, and you were the first Gold Standard Gecko Club champion. So I've always been curious on how this is going to affect those that win the championships. I wanted to ask you what if you felt any sort of notoriety from winning, and if that has done anything, positive for your business, because ultimately this was the whole reason for us to do this show, right?
yeah.
So what has been your experience with the winning the Gold Standard Gecko Club, being best of show and best tricolor, especially in 2024.
Yeah, I think. I think it did exactly what you wanted it to do. Um, I had a following with Smokeshow, posted on Instagram, Facebook, whatnot,
Yeah,
before going there, and some of those people, followed it then. But I think, like, we know, your reach, and it definitely did exactly what you wanted it to do. I'm hoping that I stay true and do the same thing and just keep breeding nicer and nicer stuff with him. And
yeah,
he produced some amazing stuff. But you know how the Gold Standard Gecko Club is, man, trying to produce the best of the best, and then bring that out to the community so that they can add that to their collections and keep making nicer stuff. um but yeah, no, it did exactly what you were anticipating to do. We
that's
had a
good.
great year this year. This year was the first year that we had smoke show siblings. And I couldn't I there's a lot that I wanted to keep, but it's also like I was still trying to build this. And so I think there's one smoke show baby left on MorphMarket right now.
Wow.
Time this video comes out, I might add a couple more, but they don't last.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
don't.
no, they don't.
Yeah,
And that's awesome to hear because the gecko itself, like you don't need anybody to tell you the gecko's amazing. You see the gecko for yourself. But the whole point was to kind of like just show a lot more people that might not be aware of it, because there's so many people that watch these videos or these podcasts or whatever, and a lot of people might not be aware of it, just like they're not aware of a lot of the geckos I have.
yeah,
So I wanted to use my platform to put a lot of uh breeders over and show that, okay, look, we're really we're not just finding badass geckos, but we have this group of judges that are qualified, that have all this experience, that are going to tell you, okay, this is a championship level gecko. So it gives people more like certainty, or more like it puts their mind at ease when they're buying a gecko online. I feel,
yeah,
especially the newer breeders that, there might not still know who's the good breeders, or who's breeders that maybe don't have as high quality stuff. And it's cool to see that it's taking effect. So I'm glad it couldn't have happened to a better guy, man. So I
thank
appreciate
you.
you joining, and definitely I think it's still gonna go a long way, and I can't wait to see what other geckos you input in there.
Yeah, I know, I can't wait too. It
Now,
When's the next show?
so I've been going back and forth. I'm not sure yet. I do want to put on. 100%. I'm gonna put at least one show next year. Now, what I'm debating on is if I put two shows next year. Um, initially I was like, I want to do California, and I still do. I want to do California, Tinley Park, the big Texas show, like the big hubs for like gecko breeders, because everybody goes to those shows anyway. So it'd be a good excuse to bring your best gecko and have them compete.
Yeah,
Um, but I think I still have to build this a little bit more where people see more of the value on it.
yeah,
So I might just do one show next year. I'm still not 100% sure. I'm 100% going to do the Daytona show next year.
yeah.
Now, do I add another, Flora Fauna show or a California show? Maybe. But like I told you earlier, moving forward, I am going to lighten up on a little bit of the rules, as in like I'm gonna let you, input a gecko that you didn't produce, and things like that that are gonna make it a little bit more accessible to newer breeders that want to enter, because I had a lot of people that were just saying, I can't enter anything this year. No, none of my stuff is up to weight that I've produced, but next year I will. And I want to make sure that everybody, that anybody that wants to enter can enter, especially in the beginning, because it's been a little rough finding
Mhm.
contestants. And I thought, a lot of people would see like exactly what I'm seeing, like, okay, this is going to be amazing. If you win, like it's going to be great for your business and your geckos, and it's going to give you notoriety and all that. But I think people are still skeptical a little bit, and that's fine. I just gotta have more time to like show them and win them over. But I'm okay with that. So like I mean, I've been in this for a long time. This isn't like I'm in this for the long run. I understand that. And if it takes me a little bit longer to build it like I want to than initially thought, I'm fine with that.
No, I think you're right. I think you're doing the right thing on the way that you're doing it. I think it's going to take a little bit, and I think there's some things that like go into play on the success of it. I think one of the things is maybe your gecko has a lot of beautiful colors when it's small, and as it starts to get older, like those colors maybe fade, and that's something that we can work on. Um, some other things too, like weights and stuff. I think people struggle with trying to get their geckos up to a certain weight, and
Yeah.
then you don't, maybe possibly breed them too soon. But that's exactly what you're trying to avoid by doing this, right? So
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to have a standard of,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm still very like optimistic for this. I think there's so much potential with it. And I don't want to say all of my ideas and my all the things that we're going to do with the Gold Standard Gecko Club, just because I don't want to get ahead of myself. And since this is kind of like a side kind of like business that I'm doing, it's still not very profitable, and I can't justify putting so much time into it yet. So I've been working on it here and there. But I think in the next, 3 to 5 years, people are gonna be really, really impressed with what we do. And there's gonna be so many different levels to it's not going to be just basically competing. It's not going to be just like I enter a gecko, I compete and I win or I lose. It's going to be multifaceted. So I'm going to be very I'm very, very bullish on this whole idea. And I think especially you guys, that I can't express how thankful I am for you guys that trusted me and like sent in their geckos or even just participated in the first show, because I think that down the line, 5, 10 years down the line, who knows, you're gonna look back and you're gonna be able to say, Smoke Show, a gecko I produced, was the first ever.
OG,
Yeah, the OG best of
OG.
show. And that's going to mean something,
Yeah,
that's going to mean something. And that's my whole point.
yeah.
I want to keep building this where all the people that believed in me in the beginning are just going to ride this wave that I'm building. So, obviously I want to give you a thank you for that. And I always ask, and I want to ask you right now, what I know you're a very nice guy, but if you had any criticism or any any constructive criticism on how the show could be, what would you do differently? What have you seen that you think okay can be improved on, or what do you think is fine?
Man, I don't know. I think you're doing a great job. I think it's set up right. I mean, I wish the only thing is I wish you kept the tricolor category out there.
Yeah,
But
we
I get it. I completely understand. It's tricolors depending upon where you're entering are a category of something different. And so in order to have enough contestants in that category, you have to lump them together.
Yeah, look, whenever we grow to the point that I have so many geckos that I can't put them all in one category, I could start breaking it off
Yeah.
into different like categories, right? Like, okay, tricolor harlequins,
Yeah.
extreme harlequins, and eventually I want to do that, but because it was I was starting. I had to pull teeth to basically get contestants.
Yeah.
I had to kind of say, okay, well, I can't justify giving a whole category to Tricolor for Daytona or moving forward until we get to that size.
Yeah. No, man, I completely get it. No, I think you're in the right. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time to build. But I think you have the building blocks, you have the contestants, you have, what it's going to take. It's just, what shows are you going to? And I mean, if you need, me to send a couple geckos again, down to do that. Now that I'm more confident with like shipping and whatnot, and I have a couple, seasons under my belt doing that. Hopefully I can fatten some of these guys up.
Yeah.
So they can enter, the next round or whatnot. Kind of go from there, man. But no, seriously, I think I like your vision. It has helped me try to figure out what projects to put together too. I know that I look at color, but there's things that I need to like focus more on sometimes. And so when I do that in the sense of like, okay, if I want to enter these two geckos, their offspring into it, what do I need to do? Are these the right two?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, for sure. And so whenever you are looking through your geckos and you're deciding, okay, I'm gonna hold this back, I'm not gonna hold that back. What's like the non-negotiable that you have that is like, okay, this gecko for this particular project has to have head fringe, right? Or this gecko or any holdback that I have has to have decent structure at the very
Mhm.
least. No poor structured animals or whatever. What are your non-negotiables for your breeding projects?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to it, it's probably. I mean, fringe. I have fringe and everything. So if it's gonna be one of my geckos, it has to have fringe. Or if it
Yeah,
doesn't have fringe, it has to have something that I can add fringe to, right?
gotcha.
Or it has to be. You have to open the container and be like, damn, right?
Yeah,
Like, let's say one day I'm going to Florida. You're up here, and you're like, I go, I need somebody to watch my geckos and feed them for a couple days a week. I want you to be like opening up the containers, like, damn. And if it
yeah.
doesn't do that, that gecko doesn't belong here, right? So,
I like
what
that.
two geckos can I put together that create that, right? Like, that's the whole thing. I know you have your like categories of, you know, structure, color. Was it uh,
Pattern.
behavior,
Yeah.
pattern? What's the other? There's like five of them, right?
No, there's actually 10. So
10. Oh God.
yeah, there's 10. And you know
I thought I
what? One
figured
of them
those.
One of them is the wow factor. So we have one that is it's a simple yes or no, which either the gecko gets 10 points or they get 0 points for, and it is that wow factor. Does the gecko make you go wow? And of course, Smoke Show made all the judges go wow, but it is so it is color, pattern, structure, uh, crests, and I distinguish crest and structure from so crest being like the actual spike scales that are along the side of the head, and then structure being the width of the head.
Okay.
Um, and there's it's like facial features. tail, body composition, and some other ones that I'm blanking on. But
So
yeah,
I'm
we
probably
have
gonna
10.
forget 7 of the 10. Um, so I'm not a huge fan of the furry trait. So
Yeah.
like I like the fringe, but not so much like the spikes that go all the way down. I don't mind too much, but like not to the point where it's like a furry gecko. Um, but
So
yeah.
So are you talking about like the pinstripes in particular, or where it's because like the regular pinstripes will just be a row of spikes one after the other all the way down to the tail base, and then what I would consider furry is like when it's not it's not in a neat row, it's kind of like spread down the
Uh,
dorsal and it's like thicker.
yeah, I guess I mean like where the crests go down and then they protrude out in like more of a like a spiky where they drip down and then they continue down possibly that dorsal in like a line.
Okay.
I
So
think
you
I think Lemmy has it to a point, but he's my only gecko that has like the elongated crests.
Oh, okay, okay, interesting. So you don't you want to stay away from that look.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Not
Gotcha.
ex- like if I'm looking for something that's not something I want to add in if I don't need to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think
Oh,
there's something with that and the ability to have fringe that like doesn't correlate.
okay.
There's this one, it has a fringe. The spikes aren't too elongated, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So you think that's like that goes hand in hand? That
Yeah.
kind of like those
I haven't found many that go together that have that have the other traits that I'm looking for.
interesting.
So there has to be some sort of relation.
Okay. And now are you I since you're so like into the fringe, have you started to add any like sable or cappuccinos into the mix since
So I
they kind
have
of do have that
yeah.
fringing?
Yeah, so I have I got a cappuccino from Ruby's at the last Flora Fauna, and she's huge. She was added to Smoke Show this year. Um, didn't have too much fringe, and then I ended up getting two tuxedo line caps last season that I'm looking to possibly add next year. And one of them has fringe the whole way. And so that
Okay.
it's bright white fringe female. Planning on possibly adding to Smoke Show, but I I have so many other things that I'm like, okay, we'll sit down and figure it out. Come like late winter or early winter for us, late winter for you guys,
Yeah.
probably
So
spring for you guys.
so
Like that,
they'll be ready to breed next year?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, that's interesting. I would love to see those.
yeah.
So have you gotten any sables or no?
No, I mean, here's the problem. Like, I keep fighting myself because originally last season, I had a job, been doing it for like 20 something years, was able to sort of retire, wasn't sure what I was going to do, was kind of in the mix of like maybe doing this as a full time thing, started
Yeah.
adding some more stuff. Um, then got an offer from the place that I retired to come back in a different status and continue to do something kind of along the lines as a full-time job. So I accepted that, and now it's like, okay, now I'm kind of stuck in a pickle of like, how many geckos can I have without making it where it's too much of a thing. So with doing that, I'm like, how many morphs do I want to keep adding? I got a lot of I got 3 caps. I have some lily whites. I want to be a hobbyist and not necessarily like a big time breeder. So I want to have a lot of
Gotcha.
stuff, but not a lot compared to like most people that are breeders. And so
Right.
that's the fight. And the hard part is like, okay, we put a lot of geckos together this year. Well, what's the market going to look like when they're time to sell? And then if I add more morphs, I want to kind of focus more on the high colored tricolors or yeah, the high end tricolors, and then maybe people with morphs, because the market with morphs change. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to figure that out, and so and I'm finding that out. Working with the lily whites and that kind of stuff. So some of the stuff has to go where try to figure out what I'm keeping and that kind of stuff. I wanted to do stables last year. I didn't do it this year, and now it's probably too late.
Yeah, I don't know if it's too late. I think the morph chasing does die down pretty quick, but I think the key to longevity with the morphs is just doing the selective breeding that you're doing now with the tricolors, but with the morphs.
Yeah,
So trying to make not just trying to make any sable or any axanthic or any cappuccino, but instead trying to make these cappuccinos and sables and axanthics that are just on a league of their own. And it doesn't matter if you have an axanthic, my axanthics don't look anything like that, you know? And I think I've seen, especially with like the Korean breeders tend to like hit like fast forward on their
mm,
projects for whatever reason. So I've seen like so many cappuccinos in particular or sables that are just generations forward from what we have, that it's like that I cannot believe that's a cappuccino. It's just
yeah,
so incredible. Like it looks nothing like our base cappuccinos that we have here. So I think that's gonna be I think that's just the future of gecko breeding in general, is focus not so much on the genetic morph, but also having a degree of polygenic line and selective breeding to it. Because it's not with the ball pythons, it's kind of like that, where it's like, okay, well, I want a super pastel, and all the super pastels are kind of like graded the same. But we all know that with crested geckos, it's so different. Like you could have a tricolor, but then, you know breeder A could have a tricolor and it's nothing like your tricolors, you know? So
yeah,
just because they have the same morph name doesn't put them in the same category. And I think once you start to separate yourself from like that average look is
mm,
when your market's going to be more stable.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
no,
I think.
there's a few stables that I've been looking at, but at the same point in time, I'm like, I gotta sell some stuff and move some stuff out and kind of figure that out. But yeah, no, I think right now I have like an inner monologue going on with myself. Like, okay, like what are we keeping? What do you know what I mean? And so like
Yeah.
now is the time. I hate to say it, like the fall. Breeders have kind of stopped trying to figure out what breeders you're willing to release to make ways for the new. And the fight that I always fight is like almost all my nice stuff that's held back is related to Smokeshow. So like
Yeah.
want to get rid of some of the stuff, but it's like, oh, but then I'm like getting away from the stuff that created that. So it's like, do I need to plus up my room or come up with a plan? And then it's like, okay, well, then we want to add morphs to it. And then I'm just like fighting myself the whole time. I think I overanalyze everything a little bit too much, man, to be honest. Like,
Dude, trust me, I'm the same way. I have like this back and forth because sometimes I'm like, I have geckos that mean so much to me and my business. As far as like this gecko, like was the one that started this particular line. So I'm like, I don't want to ever sell this gecko, but by today's standards, I don't breed it,
yeah,
but I'm like, I just don't want this gecko anywhere else but here. Like I owe it to this gecko to give it its best possible life here because of everything it's done here. So I hear you. Luckily, I'm like, I have a little bit of room where I could be like, I could just have them here
yeah,
and not breed them, and I'm not too bad, because this is what we do full time. But dude, I trust me, I have that thing too because at the end of the day, I can't keep them all.
no.
So, sooner or later, you're gonna have to sell some of those, or you got to make the tough decision.
Yeah, no, I think Lemmy is probably that one for me.
Yeah.
I think he's honestly I don't even want to say it out loud, but he's my probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, his temperament, like he's a cool friggin' gecko, man. I bring them to the shows just to show kids, just like
Yeah.
people see reptiles and they think they're like scaly and everything else, and then they hold him and they're like, okay, what's your cheapest gecko? You know what I mean? Then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're like starting a whole. That's the fun part about the show is like you're starting a whole new thing.
Yeah,
Kids
you
and reptile and everything else.
Yeah, that's one of those the reptile shows are like our lifeblood because
Yeah.
so many new people come in to the hobby through the reptile shows because there's a difference between when you first see a gecko or something online versus when you first hold it. And that's why I always ask everybody on these podcasts is like, do you remember your first like experience with these geckos? Because I remember my first experience and I'm like that's what did it for me. It's just like putting a gecko in somebody's hand is so different. And in like in my case and in many people's cases, it changes the whole trajectory of their life. So
Yeah.
like if I wouldn't have held that one gecko at that one reptile show that one time, who
Yeah.
knows? I wouldn't be talking here to you. I wouldn't have met so many awesome people. I wouldn't be enjoying this hobby and business like I do. So it is the lifeblood. Those reptile shows are the lifeblood of our industry.
Yeah, no, they're not for everybody, but
Yeah.
it's a good way to start, get your name out there. And then, yeah, the same thing. As long as you don't make it to like, sometimes it becomes a petting zoo. You know what I mean? The minute
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get
yeah.
one gecko out, like, me, 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 me. But you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
remember, like, if that was you, like, you could be changing somebody's life.
Yeah.
So, just don't overstress your gecko. Make sure that there's rules and, available and everything else. But yeah, no, definitely. You're not going to get rich at the reptile shows, the local ones,
No.
but they help you try to focus and figure out why you do this.
Yeah.
It's not for money. It's
It's
definitely not
definitely not for
for the
money.
love. It's for the it's something to do. Everybody's got a hobby that they enjoy and that they're into, and this is one of mine. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think more than money, what a lot of people need in their life is just um
purpose.
some purpose. So a lot of these animals give purpose to
Yeah,
a lot of us, me included. And I think that shouldn't be underestimated. I think it's a big important thing in all of our lives.
yeah.
So
I mean, especially
yeah.
with like today's climate, with like all the division and everything else, man. You know, freaking look at these things, man.
Yeah,
You need a daily
exactly.
distraction. It isn't so bad out there. There's a lot of good in the world, and like there's
Yeah. And
things you
and
can.
and even those that you might, disagree
Yeah,
completely with politically or religiously or whatever, when you find that common ground that you
yeah,
both are passionate about one thing, like reptiles or geckos in our case, it's
yeah,
like now you suddenly see another side of them,
yeah,
and it's no longer the media tearing you apart
yeah,
like, oh, these people are bad because
yeah.
they think this way. It's like, no, actually I know that person and they're not a bad person. They're actually a pretty decent person. They might just think differently than I do, but we have this commonality, which,
Absolutely,
makes
man.
our industry awesome.
Well, and that's the thing. Like when you go to shows and like there's other hobby like martial arts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's the cool thing about going to the gym and hitting pads or doing jujitsu or whatever. You could have a guy that has like a you know been arrested 400,000 times rolling with a cop, right? And at the end
Yeah.
of the day, they freaking like clap up, hug each other, and everything else, and life is good. And I think that's the cool thing about like going to shows and you talk to people you probably would never talk to, and you have a good conversation, you become friends, they come to the show all the time. It's cool. It's a good way to bond, and it's good for humanity, to be honest, man.
Yeah, yeah, I
Sure, they're
agree.
just lizards, right? Geckos or whatnot, but it's for sure, man. It's
We're gonna heal America one gecko at a time, Nick.
yeah. I got a whole bunch of eggs right here ready to go. For
That's
real.
awesome. Well, on that note, I think that's a really good note to end the podcast on. I think that's a good message to end it on.
Yeah.
Nick, Obviously, your HKD Geckos. Where can people find you? Where are you most easy to reach?
Okay.
And give me all your input, your what's it called? Your details.
My handles or whatever.
Yeah.
Instagram HKD Geckos, Facebook HKD Geckos. I think MorphMarket is I'm on there too as well. HKD Geckos, and then you could find a link in my bio in Instagram. I think we'll be adding some geckos up there maybe this weekend. We don't have a lot of stuff left from last season, but they'll be up there. And then as things get warmer, we'll be out there. We'll be at a bunch of shows fall up here in Western New York. Go Bills! But gotta say that about Josh. But yeah, that's about it, man. Reach out to me. You know, I'm good to have a conversation. You have any questions, I'll answer anything you guys got.
Awesome, man. I appreciate your time, and I'll put Nick's information down in the description. So if you want to check out his Instagram or Morph Market, click below. And trust me when I tell you guys, I'm not just saying this because Nick's on. I've bought a couple geckos from Nick already that I'm just like chomping at the bit to get them breeding size and get them breeding. And so definitely check out Nick's geckos. He has some incredible tricolors. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.
See you guys.